For centuries, the entire world of labor was based on a very simple equation.
Muscle and time.
Exactly. It was this straightforward calculus of hours worked for wages earned. But if you look at the source material we've gathered for you today, you'll see that the fundamental currency of work, it has changed for good.
Completely. We are fully in the age of artificial intelligence now.
And the new reality is that productivity is no longer just human, it's hybrid.
That's the perfect word for it.
Humans are sharing tasks, data, and even decision-making with machines that, they don't need coffee breaks, they don't get tired, and they certainly don't unionize.
Not in the traditional sense, anyway.
Right, so this isn't the death of work, but it is a really aggressive reinvention. The 21st century worker is evolving into what the research is calling a cybernetic collaborator.
And that concept, the cybernetic collaborator, it's just so crucial because it captures this huge new frontier that we are all trying to navigate. The shift is systemic. We actually found one quote from a major union leader that just puts it perfectly. He said, "We used to negotiate wages and hours. Now we negotiate with algorithms."
Wow, that says it all.
It really does. And that's the core challenge. So this deep dive is really about synthesizing that negotiation. We aren't just talking about, factory automation anymore.
No, this is much deeper.
We're analyzing how organizations, both labor and management, are learning this intricate dance with algorithms. We're going to look at how the shift from antagonism to a much more sophisticated collaboration is defining the future of your workplace.
Okay, so let's unpack this from the ground level up, because that's where you can feel the immediate changes. Automation used to be about replacing sheer brawn.
Right, the heavy lifting.
But the sources make it crystal clear that today it primarily augments brains, and in a lot of cases, it arrives directly as the manager.
Yes. The algorithm as manager.
Think about the examples in our sources. They hit industries from logistics all the way to retail. You see warehouse workers wearing AI-powered headsets that use real-time data to optimize their picking routes, telling them exactly where to turn, what to grab. Truck drivers are getting these minute-by-minute algorithmic instructions, all focused on fuel efficiency and speed.
And it goes deep into service and scheduling, too.
Yeah.
You have restaurant and retail staff who are following predictive scheduling.
Based on these incredibly complex data models.
Exactly. Models that anticipate customer demand and then dictate when they work, where they stand, what they do. And look, these systems are undeniable boosts to productivity. But like you said, they introduce this huge variable, blurred accountability.
Exactly. And for you, listening to this, that blurred accountability, that's the real challenge to what we think of as fairness.
Right.
Labor relations have always been about defining what is fair. So if some sophisticated software is setting the schedule based on demand models and optimizing every little movement, who's really in charge? Who gets the credit when productivity soars?
And who gets the blame when a metric dips? It raises a really critical question about the relationship between management and technology.
It does.
I mean, who evaluates your performance when the metrics, the very basis for discipline, promotions, bonuses, for everything, are machine-defined? And they can be adjusted by code that a worker never, ever gets to see.
So the algorithm as manager becomes this powerful proxy.
It is. And the rules of engagement for that proxy are what everyone is frantically trying to negotiate right now.
But if the algorithm is just a proxy, doesn't that shift the negotiation away from the shop floor and into, the software engineering department? How does labor actually hold code writers and architects accountable when they could be thousands of miles away?
And that is the essential insight that spurred labor's huge strategic shift.
Okay.
It forced this realization that resistance was, it was futile. Agency was what was necessary. The early story of automation was purely resistance, seeing tech as this existential threat or just stealth layoffs.
Which is understandable.
Of course. That knee-jerk opposition was understandable, but it was insufficient. The sources show the last decade has seen this sort of quiet evolution.
So the debate has matured.
It has. It's moved past. How do we stop automation? The question now is fundamentally, how do we shape it? How do we co-design it so that humans still win? It's a pivot from pure opposition to demanding active participation in the design process itself.
And this shift toward agency, this is where the global examples get really instructive. This isn't just theory anymore.
No, it's codified practice in many industrialized nations. Absolutely. Look at Germany, the powerful IG Metall Union. one of the largest in the world, they pioneered joint committees with employers,
Just oversee AI.
specifically to oversee the adoption of AI in manufacturing. They're not trying to block the technology. They're requiring that its integration be jointly governed. They have a seat at the table to review the impact of new systems before they're deployed.
Which ensures the technology serves the workforce, not just the shareholders.
Precisely.
And we see that agency showing up in contract law, right here in the U.S. unions, in logistics and transport, are now negotiating for specific data governance clauses.
This is a really crucial technical concept we should probably unpack.
Let's do it.
So a data governance clause, what it means is they are turning the raw performance data that the algorithms collect, that digital shadow of your work, into a negotiated asset.
Just like wages or benefits.
Exactly like wages or benefits. They're defining who owns that data, how it can be used, and, crucially, whether the union can audit that data for inaccuracy or error or systemic bias. It ensures you have access rights to the very information used to evaluate you.
That reframes the entire mission of the labor movement from just preservation to proactive design. And look at what's happening in Japan, another great example of this forward-thinking strategy.
The transition ladders.
Yes, their unions helped design these transition ladders. They're structured in-house programs designed to retrain workers who might otherwise be displaced by automation.
And they get retrained into totally new digital roles, but inside the same company.
Which prevents the need for mass external layoffs.
This strategy has changed the conversation entirely. It's no longer about pure antagonism. It's about demanding co-participation. They aren't just demanding better severance, they're demanding a future role.
Okay, so let's flip this and turn the focus to the other side. Corporations, early adopters, naturally, often practiced what our sources call corporate Darwinism.
Right.
They viewed labor purely as a fixed cost to be minimized, using automation just for rapid headcount reduction.
Survival of the fittest, basically.
Exactly. But here's where the most compelling evidence for you, the listener, really emerges. The forward-thinking firms realized pretty quickly that this approach was a dead end. They realized that talent adaptability, not just headcount reduction, is the real competitive advantage in the AI era.
You can't just fire your institutional knowledge and expect to innovate faster than your competition. It doesn't work.
That's the critical economic insight.
And so these sophisticated firms started investing massively in what are called learning ecosystems that blur the line between education and employment. And why? Because the sources indicate that while these programs are expensive, mass layoffs are actually costlier in the long run.
That's counterintuitive for some.
It is, but when you factor in the massive expense of recruitment, the months-long drag of onboarding, and the permanent loss of that industry-specific institutional knowledge.
That takes decades to build.
Decades to accumulate, yeah. Retraining an existing trusted employee becomes the economically superior choice.
And the scale of these programs is just staggering. I mean, think about Siemens with their Learning Factory 4.0. They don't just teach workers about robots, they train workers alongside them.
Teaching them to reprogram and maintain the systems in real time.
Yes. The employee becomes the system's expert. Their value is multiplied, not reduced.
Or look at AT&T's move, a massive reskilling initiative that successfully retrained nearly half its entire workforce, providing tens of thousands of employees for new digital roles within 5 years.
That's an organizational overhaul on an epic scale, a strategic choice to invest in their existing human capital.
And Microsoft's internal AI Academy is another prime example. They're designed to take non-technical employees, someone from HR, marketing, operations, wherever, and turn them into what they call citizen data scientists.
So they're equipping them with tools to analyze data and use AI to solve problems in their own department.
Exactly. Distributing that AI capability across the whole organization. So what for you is simple. The organizations that are thriving now view automation not as a replacement tool, but as a tool for the multiplication of skill, trust, and possibility.
It's an investment in future capacity, not just an expense to cut today.
Well said.
Now let's talk about a truly brilliant development here. The disruptive technology is being turned back on the disruptors. We are seeing the rise of the algorithmic union.
Fighting fire with data. I love this part.
Me too. Labor organizations are now using these advanced data analysis tools, the kind that were once exclusive to management consultants, to track inequities, to forecast risks, and to advocate for fairness.
So the traditional picket line
has evolved into a data picket line, where the leverage is the data itself, not just halted production.
This is such a crucial evolution. It democratizes the source of power. and it challenges the narrative that only management understands the technology. In the Netherlands, unions didn't wait for platform companies to be transparent about their biases.
No, they built their own, the Algorithm Observatory.
Right. And the observatory is essentially a system designed by labor to independently audit the behavior of these gig work platforms. They're building the internal capacity to peer inside that managerial algorithmic black box.
So they can spot unfair treatment that no single worker could ever detect on their own.
And similarly, in the UK, researchers are helping labor coalitions train their own AI models to analyze things like historical wage theft patterns.
Or spot bias hidden inside scheduling algorithms before they can cause harm.
They're building counterintelligence. It allows them to enter negotiations armed with the same level of data sophistication as the companies they're facing.
And even in smaller groups, we see this innovation. U.S. worker cooperatives are exploring blockchain-based systems for transparent wage tracking.
This is a profound move.
It really is. It ensures that the worker holds the verifiable, immutable record of their productivity and pay, not just the company. This shift is powerful because the technologies that initially thought to optimize labor into silence are now becoming instruments of solidarity.
And this data-driven accountability, it brings us to the ultimate variable in this whole revolution, which all the sources highlight as absolutely non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Trust.
Trust.
Trust is rapidly becoming the new productivity metric. No matter how advanced the AI is, if workers don't trust the systems, they will find ingenious ways to work around them.
Subverting any productivity gains?
Exactly. And building that trust requires radical transparency. Employees have to know exactly what data is being collected about them, not just that it's being collected, and how it's being used to make decisions about their future.
Critically, the sources demand that algorithms must be explainable, not mystical.
Yes.
If I'm a truck driver and I get a poor performance score from the system, I need a clear, human, understandable explanation of why the code made that decision. If the algorithm is a black box, it's impossible to trust and impossible to improve.
And this demands that management takes back accountability. If the algorithm makes a biased or an erroneous decision, the human manager is ultimately responsible for correcting and explaining it. The technology cannot be a shield.
The companies getting this cultural element right are going beyond just compliance. They're embedding ethical AI charters directly into their labor policies.
And often co-signing them with unions and employees.
Making it a point of shared culture, not just a technical footnote. And what does this all mean for the bottom line? The studies cited in our sources are very clear. Workplaces with high algorithmic transparency. They don't just have happier workers.
They have measurably greater innovation, because employees are willing to offer feedback on the systems.
And significantly higher retention rates. It proves that investing in trust is, in fact, highly profitable.
So if we connect all these threads to the bigger picture, what the sources are really signaling is the end of the zero-sum mindset in labor economics.
Right.
Traditionally, automation was viewed as competitive. If a machine gained, a human lost. The new model, the one that the thriving companies are adopting, is fundamentally complementary.
It's about joint intelligence.
That's the term economists are using, joint intelligence. It's essentially the best of both worlds. AI handles the repetition, the tedious optimization, the massive data crunching, the things it does best.
And humans handle the ambiguity, the complex judgment calls, the customer empathy, the creativity.
The things we do best. Forward-looking CEOs are now treating human creativity and judgment as their scarcest resources, and they're designing automation around those resources.
That's a huge shift.
They see technological change as something that has to serve collective human flourishing.
In every industrial revolution, labor and capital have had to step back and renegotiate their rhythm, find a new beat. This time, as our sources show, the music is faster, but the visionary leaders on both sides are really embracing the dance. They're seeing data not just as corporate property, but as shared capital that has to be governed jointly. They're viewing retraining not as a burden, but as a mutual investment in future capacity.
That's a profound summary of the change in thinking. The aspirational goal we found throughout the sources, and maybe the new role of labor, is participatory design. Ensuring that the goal of progress, as one union leader put it, is not to make humans obsolete, it's to make them indispensable in better ways.
And that reframes the entire mission of technological progress. We're moving toward a workplace where machines handle the precision and people handle the purpose. So ask yourself, what does indispensable in better ways look like in your own field? What parts of your work should the algorithm take over so you can focus entirely on the ambiguity and judgment that truly require human creativity? It's a profound shift. and one that really demands your attention.